Welcome to H2O Croutons.
I'm Alexis.
And I'm Jennifer. Together, we're mother
and daughter co-host. Think Gen Z
meets Gen X and let the games begin. We're here to add a little crunch to your day with real talk on everything from A to Z.
From pop culture and the latest news to deep dives in topics that you didn't even know you cared about, we've got you covered.
So, grab a drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. This is H2O Croutons. Hey everybody, welcome back to H2O Croutons. If you're new here, I'm Jennifer, your host. Sometimes you'll have me and Alexis, sometimes Alexis, but mostly you'll have me because I want to make sure you have stuff to listen to. At any rate, today is going to be basically a topic of secrets I'll probably regret sharing, but here we are, because I think it's a story that needs to be told, and it actually will probably be very therapeutic for me. If my therapist ever happens to hear this, she'd probably agree. She doesn't even know the story yet, so maybe this will help. So I had a friend that I had met through other friends. There's a couple of brothers that I knew, and one of them were dating her. And we became friends. We hit it off. Everything was great. We spent the first night just kind of talking and getting to know one another and laughing and sharing things. And she had told me some stuff that she had been going through with her parents. And I won't share any of that because it's not my story to tell. I will tell mine. So if you're listening, yes, I'm finally telling what you did. And yes, I'm going to tell my side. And I hope that you do hear it. I hope that you somehow come across this. I'd send it to you myself if I could, because you never gave any of us a chance to tell you what was happening and what we were doing and what we weren't doing. You believed a reporter in a small town or a police officer who might have been bored. Well, welcome to what I will dub Satanic Panic for this episode. So, I'll be right back after this message, and I'll dig into the Satanic Panic secrets I'll probably regret sharing after this. Okay, welcome back. So, I'm going to try to keep this simple and stay focused, because it's hard to sometimes. Essentially, that girl, probably about a year or two later, I went to call her, because two of my friends that I was going to school with in the high school that I went to, this girl's name was Amy. She lived about an hour and a half away from us. I don't really remember how long it is. Long story short, we were going to go to a lake and right after school, our first adult trip, going to have fun, do whatever, be crazy, make memories. And I was, there were three of us, so I was like, we need a fourth. I'm going to call her and ask her if she wants to go. And I call, and when her mom answered the phone, she goes, "This is Jennifer from St. Louis." I'm like, "Yeah, why are you saying it like that? What's going on?" I've called there before, because back then we had landlines, not cell phones, and it was long distance for me to call her. Telephone numbers are on telephone bills, Mrs. Amy's mom. Anyway, moving forward, essentially, so when she says all that, I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me, Jennifer from St. Louis. What's up?" And she goes, "I didn't know how to get a hold of you." And I go, "Okay." She's getting ready to tell me something big. And it was that Amy had been killed in a car accident just a couple months before that. And she was killed on the scene. The only thing I know, based on other people telling me, is she was in the back seat of this car, got thrown from it, and that was all I know. And I don't want to say anything else. And again, I'm only repeating what I've heard from other people, so it may or may not be 100%, or it may be. I don't know. I just want to make that clear, because I like to be very honest with things I tell people. I was really hurt. So I ended up looking up another mutual friend that we had, because this guy named Billy was friends with the two brothers, Mike and Jason, that I knew. And Mike and Jason, like I said, were friends with Billy. So I went and tracked down Billy, because I have no idea where Mike and Jason were at that time. So we track them down, me and Jenny, my best friend. And he kind of gives us a little bit of information and tells us, "Hey, why don't you come back down here? You can hang out with me and some of our other friends," meaning him and Amy's, because they used to go out. There used to be a couple. And I was like, okay, that'd be great. I'd love to spend time with you anyway. I haven't seen you in forever. And oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm so hurt. Billy didn't know how to get hold of me either because we weren't really friends. We just knew of each other and they didn't have that kind of information to get a hold of me. But anyway, Billy and these friends he was getting ready to introduce me to just so happened to be pallbearers at her funeral. At her funeral, carrying her casket to her grave. Lo and behold, Jenny and I went back down there the very next day or the very next weekend. It was very shortly after that day. It was actually nighttime when we found him, but we went down there and he introduced us to this other group of people. There was a guy named Mike, a guy named Eric. Mike had a little brother named Billy. A small group of people that he introduced us to, and a lot of them knew her, Amy. So we became friends. Everything was great, and it was nice to know them. And Jenny, my best friend, decided she's going to throw me a party down in that area because it's where the country is. We were from a place where they really didn't have, places where you could go to, like, have this property to go on and whatnot. So they had a property at a quote-unquote beach, but it's not really a beach. It's just a fake Missouri beach, I guess I could say. But had a lazy river that flowed in front of it. Sometimes it was higher, sometimes it was lower, typical water stuff. And anyway, so we went down at night, had this big bonfire, everything was great. But the week before that, things changed. And what I mean by that is, we had gone down there, and we were teenagers, and we decided we're going to go get alcohol for this party, because there's going to be a good amount of people there, so let's start getting some now. And the only 21-year-old that lived down there is the one who bought all the alcohol. We had some in my car, he had some in his, blah, blah, blah. Well, I get this brainiac idea, so I want to make it clear. This was all my idea. Now, they didn't have to agree to it. They did, but it was my idea, and it was for nothing but purely innocent purpose, okay? I decided I want to go to the cemetery. The only problem was it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't realize, none of us did, because we're young and willfully ignorant, I guess, or just ignorant to the fact that you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be in a cemetery unless it's daylight and you have to leave before it's dark. I know that now, and I've never, ever disrespected that since. I've done genealogy research with my own family, and I've probably been about 100 different cemeteries, and I've never been there at any other time than pure daylight, because it scared the hell out of me, and I'll explain why. I'm going to get to this point, but essentially, we end up at the cemetery where she's buried. But it wasn't that simple. Stay tuned, I'll be right back to tell you what happens, right after this. But what I said was, I want to go visit Amy. And what I meant was, let's go together, let's go to the cemetery, and let's just kind of hang out there. And that is literally all we did. My Jenny, my best friend, put a Zippo lighter on top of Amy's headstone because her picture's there. And we just all started talking about her and memories we had. It was a beautiful freaking moment, okay? Well, next thing you know, we see this guy walking with a flashlight, and we were like, oh. Because we were young, we didn't think about maybe we shouldn't be here. Dumb us. Wish I would have thought about that, because that one decision, again, changed everything. Stay tuned, I'll be right back. Welcome back. The man approaches us as we're sitting, on the ground, and some of us are standing, and he's looking around. He goes, "What are you doing here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're just here. Our friend, she was killed and she's buried here," and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "I don't think you're supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here from whenever." There is no hours posted anywhere. Apparently, this is common knowledge that people are supposed to know. And you know what? Most people, as an adult now and years later, can go, "Well, why would you do that? That was stupid." But we were kids. I want to stress this, okay? And it was so innocent outside of we were dumb just for choosing to be there. But I missed her. I was like, God, why is my friend not here? She should be here. I mean, if she wasn't here, maybe I wouldn't have met these people. I don't know. I was just really thinking of her and really, I wanted her to be a part of it. And it was the only way I knew how. Well, The guy was apparently the caretaker who lived near the property, kind of across this gravel road and up the hill a little bit. Cool, no big deal. We'll leave. Sorry, man. Didn't know. He looked around, saw everything was good. Told us to go on. Cool. We get to our cars. There's 2 different cars. My car and the car that had a bunch more people because it was bigger. And me, Kara, and Jenny were in my car. Everybody else was in the other car. And there was a couple minors there. So, and when I say that, I'm talking, they were like 17, 16. I think one of them was the younger sister or somebody. Not really sure. Either way, we had alcohol in the car that people bought because my birthday party was taking place that next weekend. And I guess we wanted to see if we could just get our hands on it because there was one person in the group who was 21. Well, as we're getting in the cars, I started my engine. And this is in a really small town off a road that was not popular by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. To me, it was the middle of nowhere because I was from St. Louis and nothing was really around it. Lo and behold, all of a sudden you see these 2 pair of headlights just coming, and they're like braking and squealing tires, and we're like, oh my god, we thought somebody was running from the police the way the cars were. And they come right up behind us. We're parked on the edge of the cemetery, and they come right up behind us, slamming on the brakes, and we realize they're cops. We were like, okay, I don't know what's going on in their car because I can't hear them, but I'm sure they were just as surprised as we were. It was really terrifying. You would have thought the way they came at us that we murdered somebody. That was... No, not that at all. We were just visiting our already dead friend. So, thanks, guys. But anyway, so they get us all out of the cars. They line us up like we have committed the worst crime. It was the most absolutely absurd thing. Now, this is during the time frame of what we refer to as Satanic Panic, because everybody that listened to metal loved Satan, and everyone who didn't listen to country loved Satan. If you had long hair, you loved Satan. If you had tattoos, you loved Satan. It was dumb. These are grown adults who knew that we were just kids being stupid. They were kids once. Don't tell me you didn't do stupid stuff. Of course you did. It's part of growing up. Well, they search our cars, they find alcohol, but they also end up taking a photo album that Jenny and I had been working on that summer. And it was called Jenny and Jennifer's Excellent Adventures and Bogus Journeys. And we were taking pictures of all of our memories. It had concert tickets in it because we hit up a lot of concerts that summer. We both love music. And there's pictures of my little cousin from 4th of July that Jenny and I had gone down to my uncle's house in the country and shot off fireworks. And they had done it too, so I took some pictures of them because we were with them. And I thought, what the hell would you want my photo album for? Because there was nothing wrong in it. It was just pictures. Hey, this is what we did this summer. It's a concert we went to. This is a napkin from a restaurant or matchbooks, and here's a picture of what we did. It's really cute. It was. We had done nothing, and they had no choice but to let us go. So we left. We were all freaked out, and I told them, I'm like, look, hey, we're heading home. I'm going to go back to St. Louis, get these 2 home. Jenny actually lived at the same place I did, but I needed to get Kara home, and she lived about 45 minutes away from where we were at that time. And the other group lived in that area, all around that area. So we left, went home. Jenny, Karen, and I discussed this at great length, like, what the hell happened? Like, why did they come at us like that? It was strange. And you could hear the caretaker telling them they weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there, blah, blah, it's okay, sorry I called. I could tell he was like, oh crap, maybe I shouldn't have called, but I'm assuming that he was the one. I don't know. Maybe it was another house. There was only a couple houses there. And the next morning, I get a phone call. And they said, you're never going to believe this. And I said, what? And they said, we're in the newspaper. And I went, what? Yeah, we're in the newspaper. And the headline is, Satanism suspected at cemetery. I'll be right back. So I'm about to get into this a little further and how all this transpires from there. I will say we did end up getting tickets where I ended up having to go to an ADEP class, which whatever, I don't care, that's fine. And we got trespassing tickets, that's also fine. No big deal. Sorry I didn't know, but ignorance of the laws, no excuse. I didn't know that visiting hours were from 9 to 5. Cool. So I'll, take my punishment and go. So, and that's what we did. Nobody complained. Nobody said anything. And they put each of us, by the way, in the car individually. What were you doing here? Blah, 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 blah. Like, again, you would have thought we murdered someone. It was insane. And we got that call the next morning, and they said, they're like, you're never going to believe this. Oh my God, what are we going to do? They were the ones that suffered the most from this. Jenny, Karen, and I did not live down there, so it didn't affect us. But friends were telling their kids, don't hang around them. Some got fired from their jobs. It was insane. I immediately got a lawyer. I'm like, we need to do something. This is wrong. And they essentially said that my photo album, my memory photo album with pictures and concert tickets, was, at the time, I had no idea what this was, had a book of shadows. I'm like, what the hell? And so finally, someone explained it to me, and they're like, oh my God, they think that's a spell book. I'm like, concert ticket stubs? What the hell? And first of all, I'm going to say something. Even if it were a book of shadows, you're a dumbass, by the way. Whoever wrote that or gave that information, you're stupid, and I hope karma got you. I really do. I won't, but karma will. But moving on. You can tell I'm a little bitter, right? So moving on. Even if that were the case, freedom of religion is a constitutional right. And for anyone to do that to a group of kids who just made a simply stupid decision to go to a cemetery at night and sit on the ground, some of us standing, put a Zippo on top of her headstone, and talking about the memories we had of her. And 3 of the people there, mind you, were pallbearers at her funeral that her own parents picked. So do we get to this point? How do we get from point A to point B? And these are the adults in the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, at the time that this happened, Jenny and I were living at my grandpa's house. My grandpa, Southern Baptist preacher, he knew I wasn't a Satanist. I think Satanism is stupid. Believe in what you want, but that's my opinion. I'm actually Christian, and I know that God witnessed what he witnessed, and I know he's not happy, but he'll handle them. I'm staying out of it. So we got a lawyer, and it affected our friendships. We hadn't been friends very long, but it affected things a lot. Like, I felt so bad. I felt so bad because it was my choice to go. I'm not sure any of the rest of them would have thought of that. I've always been sentimental to people that I love. I've lost a lot. I think you'd have to understand my past to understand why I am that way, but I will just tell you, by the time I was 9 years old, I was at 3 different funerals for my baby cousins who have all died. And when I say baby, I'm talking little. A couple were babies, one was a toddler. And that was by the time I was 9. So death was a very weird, different thing for me because I had experienced that already so young, and that is all I knew. So it was very different that way. Well, got the lawyer, and he basically said he could get the trespassing charges dropped down to some other kind of charge, and he could take care of the alcohol charges and get an agreement to get them, taken care of if we would go take these classes, which were alcohol and drug educational programs. Now, I want to tell you, y'all are never going to believe, and if the person who's responsible for who caused all of this for all of us, the fact that I ended up working for the police, and before that, working in an alcohol and drug program, helping other people, because I actually barely drink. I've only smoked marijuana in my past, not excessively either, maybe a total of 8 times. And I don't care about that, by the way, but the fact that I've never done drugs, the fact that I've helped people, the fact that I ended up working for the police department in a big city, and I lived with a preacher, does that make you feel stupid? Because it should. Because that's a testament to who I am. And I'm not forgiving about it. I've had a really hard time because I lost some friends over that. That's the kind of stuff that makes people stay away from each other, because why would they? Why would they want to be around them? They've caused them, all this drama. They lost jobs. They lost friends. And they had to live there and get fingers pointed at them. And rumors started and had this reputation of being something none of them were, by the way. Not a single one. Well, we ended up in court, and it was actually funny because Kara, Jenny, and Eric and I ended up getting an apartment in St. Louis City. Everything was okay for a while. That didn't go well. I ended up moving back to my grandpa's. Jenny went back to her grandma's house, and I don't know where Kara and Eric went. Well, because our friendship was over, I think, from that more than it was down there. It was just a lot. We were young, stupid, and I don't know. It was a really rough time in our lives. So, and by the way, as far as I know, Kara and Eric are actually still together. Anyway, which is freaking awesome. Look, our personalities pretty much clashed, but I will tell you this. They were so damn cute together. It was adorable. It was almost gross adorable. Anyway, moving on. So, we got court, and our attorney was able to get the charges dropped down to, trespassing in, I don't know, some kind of degree. But the rule was we could never go back. And I've never gone back. And what I mean by that is I was no longer ever allowed to go to see my friend's, burial site and pay my respects. So I end up, as before all this happens, because that was the agreement, and I was trying to, decide how I wanted to handle it, because I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight back. I wanted to sue the person responsible for doing this, because it's actually slander. And I wish there wasn't a statute of limitations on it. I wish I would have thought about it then to, push it further. But at that point, it was so stressful. And I felt like I had already, because of me, put all these people through stuff. Even though it wasn't me who made the article, I was the one that made the decision. And I mean, yeah, they didn't have to go with me. But I was the one that came up with the idea. So it makes you feel responsible. Well, I wanted to sue the person or people, and including the police department. I was pretty pissed off, to be honest with you. And I don't know who it came from. I just knew who printed it. But if I could today, I would take them to court, because what they did was wrong. Because not only did they say all this false stuff, they included our names and where we lived in this article. It's just unbelievable. And long story short, basically, we're at court date now, and we all show up, and nobody's really talking. Jenny decided she did not want to go. She's like, just tell me what I gotta do. Tell me what my punishment is. I'm not going. But I wanted to go. And when I was there, our attorney represented every single one of us, and he did it for relatively cheap. He also hired a private investigator to make sure that the judge and the prosecuting attorney were not playing golf together, being friends, or who weren't. So the show, they weren't friends. But, they weren't. But it was a small town. And this had already been, stuck in their head, and this judge was looking at us, and I'm like, we didn't do anything. I plead guilty because I did trespass. I did have the alcohol in my car. It actually wasn't mine. It was Kara's, and she owned that. But I'm not... we weren't on trial for the Satanism part that they suspected. But I wish we were. God, do I wish we were. Because before the court date, the police department called me and said, hey, you can come and get your photo album. They took something else. But it wasn't anything. It was something so trivial. It made me laugh. But anyway, I asked my grandfather, the preacher, I said, would you mind riding up there with me or driving me there? Would you mind going in there and getting it and maybe just like telling them who you are? Because I felt, even not the one, I wasn't living down there, but even not living there, I can't even imagine what the other people felt, but I will tell you, it stays with you. Maybe that person thought it was funny or was going to get the paper to have attention, or maybe they just don't know how to have any integrity in their communication. But if it was from a source, your source lied to you, obviously. And if it was something that you decided to write, it was slander. And you may not be held accountable in this lifetime for what you did to a bunch of kids, but you will in the next time. When you pass over and you go to the pearly gates and you have to face your judgment, that will be part of it. And I don't know who you are. I could go find your article somewhere. I actually gave it to a private investigator of my own because I was going after you at one point, and I just decided that the stress wasn't worth it. And that's how you won. But I wish I would have followed through. So he has that article to this day because I decided to just walk away from everything. But if I need to get my hands on it, I know where to go because I'm not kicked out of the town. I was just told the cemetery. And I've respected that. But the thing that kicks my backside every time I think of the situation, her parents were there in the courtroom watching that, knowing we were told, don't come back. And they were okay with that. That's what they wanted. And it made me think back to my conversations with Amy and the conversation also that I had with the priest that ran the he was the priest of the cemetery that was connected to that church. And I told him, I said, look, this is what happened. We weren't doing anything. What do I do? It's really bothering me that I can't go. He said, she's not here. She's not here. All you have to do is just talk and let her know that you're there. He was very calming to me. And I think that's what ended up helping me in the end. But after I spoke with him and her parents were at the court date, I just remember I turned around and I looked at them like, now I believe everything she said. So if you're listening, I'm not going to leave any names. I'm not going to say anything specific other than the title of the article. And I've already looked to see if it was available online. Unfortunately, it's not, because I would have loved to have read it to my audience and people that are listening. But you hurt me. And you hurt people that didn't deserve to be hurt over something really stupid but also innocent, because we missed and loved your daughter. And the person who wrote the article and put that in people's heads, I have to wonder, what were you doing? Why were you trying to put the attention on us? Because we had heard after the fact that there were things that were going on, which quite frankly scared me, because I thought, oh my God, were they out there that night we were there? And was there anything going on? Because it wasn't a very big cemetery at that time. I have no idea what it looks like now. But yeah, I don't know that what I heard is true. But there was a reason. There was some reason the guy that wrote this article did what he did. There was some reason those cops who showed up like we had killed somebody or had robbed a bank showed up the way they did, terrifying us. Unacceptable. All of it. People need to understand, you have to own what you've done. And I will own my role. We were stupid for being there, but we were dumb and didn't know better. But we learned, and we took our punishment, but no problem. But what we aren't, and I will never, ever, ever forgive, even after all these years, even if the people responsible approached me and said, look, what I did was wrong, I would just look at them and say, get that away from me. Because I've had to live with this my whole life. We're talking about 30 years now. And I don't have my friends. Jenny is gone. She died from a rare heart condition. And I tried to be friends with one other person I used to get along with, but it was too much. I own my role. It was my decision to go that night. Yes, they could have said no. But ultimately, had I not opened my mouth, I don't think we would have went. But this is how kids back in the day got treated. So if you're young and you're listening to this, just know you got it made. Because my generation had to face that. Look up the Memphis 3 sometime. These 3 kids were accused of killing some kids. And I'm pretty sure it was another male that they were related to, and I'll leave it at that. But they're free now, but they spent many years in prison. because of the same crap these small town people with nothing better to do, who've got crap in their heads and literally suffered from what we call satanic panic. And those are your boomers, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all boomers who did that. Those are all boomers who really thought that, who thought so lowly of a lot of us just because we were different or liked metal or hard rock or had long hair or tattoos, because we liked to go out and party with our friends. Suddenly that meant you loved and worshipped the devil. Are you kidding me? Wake up, people. This is real life. I will not forget that. It was wrong, you guys. And it hurts so bad. I actually had to go into therapy for it, off and on, a couple years, because I hate the fact that there are people out there that read my name, read Jenny's name, Kara's, Eric's, Mike's, the other people, the minors' names were not mentioned. Thank God for that. But nobody was there other than just to be there. We weren't doing anything. So that's it. Way to go. I don't know how that person slept at night, but yeah. Satanic panic. Isn't that great? So that's it. That's my story that I may regret sharing, but it was a secret that needed to be told, because ultimately, in the end, it wasn't my secret. It's the person who lied. Much love to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on our socials. And if you like what you heard, leave us a rating, review, and whatnot, either on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Pandora, SiriusXM, wherever you find us. Please make sure you let them know. Let people know that this is what you like. We're going to keep getting better, keep growing, keep learning, and we'll be here. Until next time, I'm out of here.